Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the showdown between Bretonnia, led by Uncle Albert, and the Lizard people, who are going to be led by Jabba the Hutt. And it looks like he is indeed going to be atop his mighty steed, which we have not seen for quite some time. I feel like a lot of people in the metagame just kind of go cheap with him because, again, he has really good spells. He has Banishment, he has a Ruination of Cities, and of course he does have Nets of Amnitalk and Apotheosis, so he's got a really good kit of spells. I feel like a lot of times people just go cheap because, again, Zlok is a pretty big target, but if you're facing off against a faction that doesn't have the best, like, kind of a, armor-piercing missile units, I feel like it can be pretty good. But anyways, guys, this game is going to get off to a very quick start, as I do have a couple groups of Knights Errants here up on the high ground, the defenders of Fleur de Lis, as well as one group of standard Knight Errants, and they're just going to be charging balls deep into these swords. So their lances are couched, they're coming in hard, and you can see Uncle Albert is watching. He's quite proud up here. He's like a proud father, watching his sons do battle, and definitely a brutal charge against these Saurus, and you can see they're going to be sent flying. So essentially, I have two Grail Knights in the back. I also have two groups of these what are these guys called? Knight Errants. I don't use them often, but anyways, they get a huge charge and just wreck those Saurus. I mean, that seemed like it was an unfathomable, like, just an insane amount of damage on the Saurus, and I think it was because, like, either, number one, it might have been a bug based on the amount of damage it did, or number two, they were so bunched up when they were coming over that hill that the charge, like, hit, like, most of the models. I can't really, fathom how it could do that much damage from, like, Knight Errants. I mean, I guess they do have a charge bonus of 50, but only 30 weapon strength. That seems a little bit insane. But regardless, wanted to show you guys that. But a very good net of Amnitalk from my opponent here. Beautiful stuff. So a Saurus Guard veteran, as well as the Temple Guards, are going to charge in. He does get a Ruination of Cities that goes down the formation of Knights. Doesn't do as much damage to these guys as it does like infantry. The frontline engagement is also underway. The Foot Squires are going to be battling some of these angry dinosaurs across the entire front. And a couple of groups of these filthy peasants have been given their pitchforks and whatnot, and they've been sent out to pasture. We're putting them out to pasture right now, guys. So that's kind of an expression that basically you're just putting something down. So these peasant mobs are fighting. The Grail Knights are going to be swarming in. The Jabba the Hutt has kind of overextended a little bit, and Uncle Albert's going to be swarming in as well. So we got to start working on these big targets. And the Holy Wardens are also fighting some of these big dinosaurs and fighting the Temple Guard as well. But a very elite army for my opponent. He does have two of these Saurus Guard veterans, which is just brutal. I mean, that's so much HP to bring down. And one of the mistakes I made, like just kind of looking at it initially, is like I probably should have brought more halberds, because I'm really relying on my knights to deal with this. You can see Albert's Trident going down, which is just an absolute piece of garbage. It does like no damage. I mean, it did hit these Saurus, but they were already just mangled anyway. So, man, that item was just so bad. But Albert here is doing a really good job. I mean, Lord Mazda Mighty's just getting taken to town by these Grail Knights, as well as Uncle Albert. They're just getting a ton of HP damage in, as well as some Overwatch fire applying poison. Jabba the Hutt's had enough of that. He's going to be pushing through and leaving his two Saurus Scar veterans to battle my knights, which is definitely a pretty good call. So here he comes. These peasants are they're in the wrong neighborhood, 100%. So Jabba's going to be pushing through. He throws a couple of spears that just hit that damsel right in the face, which is pretty funny, and then he's just going to go after the peasants. So yeah, they're going to have to run for their lives, which is definitely not fun. In the meantime, the peasants, they didn't win this engagement. I actually used my my Knight Errants there to get a rear charge on those Saurus and break them, and now the peasant mobs triumphantly going to be chasing these Saurus off the battlefield. This is probably the only time you'll ever see this in the history of Total War Warhammer. These peasant mobs are going to be chasing the Saurus off the battlefield, which is too funny. But basically, since I did so much damage initially, I was able to get the defenders, and I'm just kind of sweeping up their ranks, just cleaning up all of the Lizardmen infantry and having a lot of success. So you can see the balance of power is already in my favor. Albert is netted up in the air. I wanted to go after Jabba, and honestly, if my opponent hadn't gotten this net off right now, I probably would have killed Jabba, gotten him really low. So very good net play from my opponent so far. Some of these Grail Knights who did take a beating earlier are going to be charging in, trying to finish off Jabba the Hutt, but at this point, you can see it's a pretty big wash for the Lizardmen infantry. I mean, these Temple Guard are pretty much massacred. These Saurus warriors are surrounded, so, I was able to get Foot Squires up and around and wrap around these guys. Just a 360 punishment going on here, so they're pretty much broken. You can see they're going to be running. Looks like some Saurus are coming back in here, as well as some Temple Guard that will most likely come back. They do have 48 models, so a very good initial engagement with the Knights and the Knight Errants, even though that, like, despite that charge, whether or not it was a bug, they did a really good job sweeping up the formation and just... I didn't get a great chance to show you guys, but they were just like cycle charging these Saurus lines and just broke them incredibly quick with the Foot Squires and the Holy Wardens in the front. So right now, we got a fight on our hands. Jabba the Hutt's still very low, but of course Cold Blood keeping him alive, which is tough. It's so tough to finish off Lizardmen Lords. If you break them, like right now, I should have capitalized somehow. I should have had Albert or someone else kind of hitting him, because if I could have broken him here, I could have just chased him off the battlefield, and that would have been 100% GG. But rather than that, I kind of left Uncle Albert fighting those big guys too long, and honestly, those Saurus Scar veterans just took Albert apart. They did a ton of damage to him. He has about 1600 HP. He will be coming back. Unlike Lewin, though, he doesn't have that self-healing, so he's not quite as durable, and his weapon strength and combat stats are quite a bit lower than Lewin. He does have a bonus for his large, which is pretty good, and of course the speed buff, but really I think that Lewin is always pretty much going to be a better pick. But anyways, Uncle Albert is going to be swooping back in, looking to kind of strike at Jabba the Hutt here. The Saurus Guard veterans are basically just cleaning up my archers, but I'm also cleaning up my opponent's units. So we do have the Temple Guard up here. who are going to be fighting foot squires, and a couple of groups of knight errants, unfortunately, were left in combat too long. And you can see they're going to start getting taken down by some of these temple guard here in just a moment, because there still was like 48, 50 models, give or take. So yeah, definitely not a happy engagement for the Bretonnians up here, not a happy little accident. The bounce part, after Albert took that damage and my Grail Knights kind of got pounded, is sweeping back into my opponent's favor a little bit, going back towards the middle. My peasant archers here kind of rallying a little bit. Any damage at this point helps, and you can see there they do about 60, 75 damage, and honestly, every little bit counts. Jabba the Hutt takes some work right there. It looks like there's going to be an apotheosis going down, and oh no, these peasants are in the wrong neighborhood. These peasant archers are definitely going to have a bad time. A couple of them are sent flying into another dimension. They'll probably end up in Age of Sigmar after that attack right there. But yeah, Lizard people are going down the hill. They're going to be chasing off my Grail Knights. Over here, the same thing. My opponent doing a very good job just being patient and methodical. And he's going to be taking out my peasant archers, which I actually kind of needed to take down those big targets. Anyways, right now both of us are just kind of reforming ranks. His temple guard actually won up there versus foot squires and knight errants for the most part. So we're going to be charging in here, and you can see the knights are coming in. Uncle Albert's going to be charging in, and he'll easily be able to take these guys out with the support of all these foot squires and the Holy Warden. So I still have a lot of infantry, but the thing that was really stressing me out is like, I don't have any halberds. I'm like, that was one thing. I was just kind of experimenting with a bit of a knight errant style army against the Lizardmen, but I forgot to bring halberds, which I'm really going to kind of be missing here. You can see pretty much the balance of power now is like dead even. So it's just going to be fisticuffs. Can Albert with his bonus first large and a couple knight errants, plus the damsel. I mean, the damsel has some decent combat stats, at least has like 200 plus weapon strength. And they finish off these big angry dinosaurs. That is going to be the story of the day. So right now I'm going to fast forward a little bit as there's some posturing. These peasant mobs who did chase the source all the way off the map, definitely doing their people proud. And yeah, my opponent just kind of keeping together here. But thankfully, one of his swords did chase the peasant off. So I was like, okay, now's the time to strike. Jabba's alone. I'm coming in. Albert's coming in. And we're going to try and get as much damage. The damsel, of course, man, look how big Zlok is. That thing is crazy. Albert gets a bit of a weird buggy charge. He like swooped around instead of going directly in. But here he comes. We get a good attack on Mazda Mundi, who does pop Apotheosis. Unfortunately, his leadership's still really good. He's confident, but it looks like he's tanking down to steady. Man, he is just healing through that damage. But another 500 comes in on Mazda Mundi, putting him down to 1,200. That Saurus Guard veteran is probably going to turn around and attack Alberic, and Alberic doesn't have healing, nor is his melee defense as good as someone like King Lewin. So I was like, man, I couldn't get Mazda Mundi, and now I'm pinned here. I don't want to stay in this fight because the Saurus Guard veteran will win. I mean, its stats are quite a bit better, actually, than Alberic, which is a little bit unfortunate. So Alberic's going to kind of sweep up in the air. Of course, he does have the advantage of speed and flying. Some of my Grail Knights, it looks like, those are actually defenders of Flare de Lis, are going to come back. And I'm just trying to get Mazda Mundi. My damsel's getting in there with her pimp cane, trying everything she can. That was kind of weird. Like, I charged in, and then, like, Alberic, like, bounced off. So a couple of weird bugs this game. But Alberic coming back in there. He's going to go, and can he get some damage? But he's in a really dangerous situation. You can see he's completely surrounded by these Saurus Guard veterans. So double dinosaur beatdown. Those guys are going to go after him. So I'm like, I am in the wrong neighborhood now. I need to get out of here. I need to run. Alberic's going to be pulling back, and the hordes of infantry, I did blob up here, so I saw the blob at the last second. I was like, oh no, fall back, fall back. I thought he was out of charges, but unfortunately he was not, and it is going to break peasant mobs and some foot squires, but thankfully my healthy group of foot squires, as well as the Holy Wardens, didn't take a lot of damage from that, so even though it looked devastating, it really wasn't like as bad. But the bounce power now, for the first time in the battle, in my opponent's favor. You can see Jabba the Hutt's just kind of kiting and running back to his Scar veterans, and every time I try and land, the veterans are just kind of swarming in with their 75 speed. I do pop rally here, hoping my infantry can kind of chip away at the veterans' health a little bit, and it looks like the damsel is going to be getting in right as well, but Mazda Mundi is able to tank her pretty easily. The rear charge coming in does about 100 damage, so everything counts. He's shaking, he's at forward leadership, just so incredibly close. And you can see up here, Albert is back up in the air. He's kind of rearing for another charge here. And he's so close to being broken. He has 7 leadership. Balance of power is kind of teetering back and forth, kind of creeping back towards the middle a little bit. But the problem is that my opponent kind of kite me a little bit. So he can keep away from my infantry pretty much the entire time. I could just stand and wait for him. But honestly, I just wanted to be aggressive here and try and get this. So I try and use the Trident Manon, but to break him. And it does have a negative, I think, 16 leadership penalty, but it looked like it missed or just didn't have any effect on Mazda Mundi. I think it was just a bit of a miss, unfortunately. So the foot squires and the damsel are kind of chasing up the hill. Albert is just waiting for Mazda Mundi to break. I was like, break, break, break. So then I can separate him from the Scar veterans and, potentially chase him off the battlefield by just flying overhead with Albert. Looks like a really good apotheosis. He does get that off, so very well played by my opponent here. He's doing a really good job of kind of just scrapping and fighting back into this game here. And you can see that my foot squires are charging in, and his dinosaurs coming in as well. Just absolute madness. 400 HP. It is so close. And yeah, we're just trying our best. Just chasing, and he's just kind of kiting and picking off my troops, but I come in for the Alpha Strike, get him down to 61 HP. I was like, yes, it's happening, and then, no, it's not happening. The dinosaurs swoop in, and of course, their anti-large hits really hard. Albert takes massive damage, goes down to almost negative leadership, but he does rally to keep him alive here. The damsel is almost able to finish off Jabba. but kind of every time I come after Mazdamundi, but for anyone who doesn't know, I just call Mazdamundi Jabba the Hutt because he looks like it. But yeah, the Damsel's going to be getting in there, trying to finish him off with 61 HP. The Foot Squires are just kind of waddling. They're moving fast. They're exhausted. So unfortunately, I'm not able to kill him. He's just like clawing on for dear life here. You can see that Alberic is going to be potentially rallying here in the distance, and it looks like this game is going to be pretty much over. Bounce though, creeping back towards the middle. Look at that. And then Mazdamundi does fall to the Damsel. He goes down with a steel chair from the Damsel, but honestly, I don't think I have the stopping power to take out these two guys. And you can see from here, Alberic's going to come back, but that's going to be army losses. So very well played. That was an incredibly fun game. So a couple big mistakes. I think I had a couple opportunities early to really seize on and push off. I left Alberic fighting those Scar veterans for too long. And had he been like, you know, kind of floating and sticking and moving and hitting Mazdamundi while he was a little bit isolated, because I had Grail Knights pinning these guys down, and I left Alberic kind of fighting over there, I think had I been able to take him out earlier, that would have been good enough. But really good value from the Knight Errants, and the infantry did pretty good. I mean, it was a very close game, so not too many critiques other than the fact that I might cut the Holy Wardens and like the Peasant mobs and then just get like 2 halberds. I think that would have been game changing, because at the end, if I could have just stood my Damsel on top of halberds and Alberic could have just like sat, I think I would have been in really good shape. But alas, I did not bring them, and of course made some mistakes with Alberic. But my opponent played really well. He had great nets, he had great healing, really good vortex spells. He had good timing with those. He was very patient. So very well played. And my opponent won billion. Look forward to running into again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this Albert showdown. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.